Well, okay. Well, I guess we can start kind of diving into the shit that we want to talk about, man.
Okay.
Like what's crazy for me is I like everyone else in our little small town had to watch what you went through from afar and really had no understanding or clue of
Mhm.
what you were going through on a day-to-day basis, and really up until whenever we found out that you were released and got back, and then
Mhm.
you start hearing rumors and understand about what the heck your life was like
Yeah.
for a year. And so we know why we're here. We know what we're going to talk about. We know what we're going to dive into. And I'd love to get into all those details. But before we even get to that point, I kind of want to understand what led you into a Thai prison. Like
Oh, okay.
how the heck,
All right.
how does a man of such stature, such professionalism and grace find himself in a situation that he probably couldn't have ever even dreamed up? Like,
Yeah. It was like a dream too.
yeah. So I mean, you grew up here. Let's start kind of from the beginning. Like
Yep.
East Bernard. Like.
Okay. My wife and family and I were living in East Bernard.
Mhm,
My wife got a job offer
mhm.
in China at a big school to be the artistic director.
Yeah.
And so we had a big discussion, discussed it with the family, and
Y'all
we
had
all,
only lived in East Bernard at that time, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it wasn't
As
y'all
soon as
never traveled overseas. Like, y'all never lived overseas. Y'all never
No,
lived
I
anywhere.
did for a while, but that was military. As soon as I
Okay.
got out of the military, we moved
And what
right to
did you
East
do
Bernard.
in the military?
I was in the CBs. I was a mechanic for the CBs.
How long did that last?
That was 6 years.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
And then
So from like what age? Like when
I
you were
was
young,
I
much
joined
younger,
whenever I
18?
was 20
Okay.
and got out whenever I was 26. So,
Okay. And then when you got out, you were 26. When did you meet Tanya? When did that?
oh, Tanya and I met before I
Sorry,
was even
Tanya.
in the Tanya and I met
Always
before I was
murder
even
that.
in the no, she's used to it. Before I was even in the military. Tanya and I met whenever I was in college
Okay.
through a
So
mutual
she
friend.
survived through
Oh yeah,
CVs and
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
She was
Okay.
military wife,
So she
everything.
was
Yes.
hardened well before you
Oh
and headed
yeah,
overseas. Okay.
yeah,
Cool. Cool.
yeah.
So you got out and did y'all move back here to East Bernard? Where?
Yeah, we moved to East Bernard, and is actually before I was even out, she had already moved back to East Bernard
Okay.
because we wanted my son born in Texas because there's a special grant that you can get if your family member or your father is a veteran, and him being
Ah.
born in
Born in
Texas
Texas.
as a
Yeah.
native Texan,
Yeah.
he can use my GI Bill. And then
No joke.
there's another grant that he could get to go to college after that to pay for everything past the GI Bill.
Wow.
So either him or Beverly could do. Beverly couldn't do it because she was born in Mississippi. So
Did y'all find out about that after?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, sorry, Bev.
Yeah.
You know,
But
you live and you learn.
so she moved back here before I even got out, and we found the building that
Yeah.
she started her dance studio up
Right,
in.
and that's when y'all came into my life. Like that's how I
Mhm.
remember you in my life was that you're the family that had a dance studio here,
Yeah.
and my sister would go to classes, and all of her friends would go to classes, and that's where we'd go watch shows, and like it was an integral part of our community. Like that
Oh
was
yeah.
a
Well, I've been intertwined with your family since way before then. I've known
yeah.
your father since junior high.
I'm sorry to
Your
hear that.
dad was my substitute drama teacher in junior high.
What?
So, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know he was a substitute drama teacher.
Oh yeah, our theater teacher. I think
So
she
many
had
jokes, so little time.
she had surgery or something. She was
Uh-huh.
out for about a month, and
he was the
he
stand-in.
was the substitute teacher for a
Oh,
month, and
boy.
I've never forgotten how fun Roland was in
Yeah.
class. He
Okay.
was-
So wow, I didn't realize we ran that deep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay. Wow.
but no, so yeah, we moved back here, and then she got the job offer, and I had a trucking company at the time.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And
Yeah, I remember that.
I shut the trucking company down whenever we moved overseas. We decided to go on a big
So,
family adventure.
How
And
the heck did that come about? So y'all are teaching. You have a dance studio here. You're running.
Mhm.
You've got your own trucking company. You're building that. She's growing her dance studio.
Mhm.
When is the moment that y'all are like, no, we've got kids. We're living in this tight knit little small town conservative community. We're an integral part of it all. Let's flip this. Let's flip the script.
Well, we both love international travel,
Okay.
Tanya and I,
Yeah.
and we wanted our children to experience other cultures,
Ah.
not just on vacation,
Yeah.
but actually live in it and experience
Did
it.
you-
And that was one of the things we discussed when
Yeah.
making the decision.
Did the kids ever go? Did y'all ever take the kids on anything like that before? Like, did y'all go on
Oh yeah,
any?
yeah. We had been to Europe a couple of times and to the Caribbean and
Yeah.
down south, but
Okay.
we had been several times, and they love travel as well.
Yeah.
Mark is more of a stay and vacation.
Homebody. Okay.
Whereas Beverly is like Tanya and I, and
Go.
will live anywhere amongst knows no
Yeah.
enemies,
Yeah,
friends,
makes
with
friends at
everyone.
all
Yeah.
places.
And so we moved over, and I sold my company. And I actually, whenever we first got there, I took a job acting, and
Okay.
I was managing a expat restaurant and bar. So kind of like
So you're a jack of all trades.
yeah,
It
kind
was
of.
this-
Well, I had been in food and beverage, and I had been a bar
Okay.
manager before whenever I was in the military and college.
Okay.
And so went
Did
to
you
this.
do any acting before that? Like
Oh,
how?
well-
how actually? Let me rewind a little bit. How was even settling in as a family overseas? I mean, vacationing is one thing with kids and a wife, but how was it uprooting your entire understanding of community?
You talking about a culture shock?
Yeah.
We went from a community of less than 2,000 people at the time to over 20 million.
Right.
To
Where
a
did y'all
city
end
of
up?
over
Where'd you
20.
throw the dot?
Well, the school that she got her job at is in Shenzhen, China, which is right across the border from Hong Kong.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Okay.
literally the
Huh.
city is only 25 years old.
And that's the one
And-
that's exploding, right?
Yes,
Like the technology and the advancing of just the way everything's
Yeah,
growing, buildings.
that's the new, what they call Silicon Valley of
Right.
the world is right
That's
there
why
in
it sounds so familiar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, anything electronic that you have, your cameras, your lights,
It's
everything
coming.
comes from Shenzhen. Yeah.
So did y'all intentionally go that direction? Like was that always the city that y'all wanted to kind of
No,
settle?
that was just where the school happened to be that hired her.
Okay.
And they have I think they have 8 locations and 2 big performance.
Gotcha.
areas,
And
so-
so really the big uprooting was the job offer to be, that was the foundation, that
Mhm,
was the stability. And you went with the interpretation of once we get settled, I'll find a way. I can
I'm
square peg into a round hole. I can adapt it. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Sure.
Sorry, Marines.
Nah. Yeah. Right. Okay. So when y'all ended up landing there, how was it settling in as a family? Like, did you immediately start meeting people and building a community, or how was that transition?
The school really took care of us whenever we landed. They had
Okay.
people to greet us. We had our own cars to take us to the apartment. They
Yeah.
rented an apartment for us,
Uh-huh.
and so they really helped us get the first initial week or 2
Okay.
eased in.
Right.
But yeah, language barrier, culture shock, that's something that the children
Totally
had to learn
different.
how to come over. Yeah, and it's completely
an
different.
experience.
Yeah, and there's so much that's lost in translation between Mandarin and English that it's just I love to tell everybody there's no easy way. There's no way to beat around the bush whenever you're speaking Mandarin.
Mm-hmm.
They're very direct.
Direct. Just,
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So
Does tone even change? Is there delivery? Like, are they polite in tone, or is it just like?
They have 4 different tones in Mandarin.
Okay.
Cantonese has 8, but they have 4
Jesus.
different tones. So you can literally have one word mean many different things. So context while you're using it in a conversation is very important. So
Okay.
like ma, there's literally a sentence in Chinese which is like ma 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 ma. I don't know if I got the tones right.
Yeah.
Don't be killing me.
Yeah,
but that sentence right there literally means like, are you is my mother bringing the horse to the market? But it's all one
about
word, just
enunciation,
different
the tone,
tones.
the way you're toning it.
Yeah, and
Wow.
and there's so many different dialects of Mandarin. There's
Uh-huh.
I literally was walking down the street, and they still have street sweepers over there.
Wow.
So I'm
Okay.
literally walking down the street one day, and I see these 2 old men from different parts of China trying to talk to one another, and they can't understand the spoken language.
Oh.
So they're drawing the symbols in
On the street.
Mandarin
Right.
on the street. That's
Huh.
how they're holding a conversation.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So y'all get settled in. Everything like. When did you start? When did you start working? When did you decide? What was first? Was it acting or was it restaurant?
Well, first,
bar direction? How did that come about?
we were there for about a month, and then I went to a couple of expat bars because I love sports bars.
Yeah.
Like, Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah.
This is great. And so I walk into this place, and this place literally looked like Buffalo Wild Wings, but it was called Frankie's. And so I met the manager. The manager was a guy from North Carolina. Start talking to him. He was a good old boy, from out in the sticks, a little bitty small town.
Connected
where
right
we-
away.
yeah,
You got it.
and became really good friends. And then he found out that I had been in food and beverage before, and he was like, dude, I'm looking for a manager. You want to come? Because they had 2 locations. And so I said, yeah, sure. So I started doing that, and then meeting all the Americans and other
Coming through.
expats that were coming through.
Yep.
I met some actors, and this one guy came in. He his big claim to fame was he had a extra role on Friends
Okay.
and How I Met Your
Okay.
Mother. And
Huh.
but he was over there, and he's big over there. He's
Okay.
like in some big movies over there. And he asked me if I'd
Chinese movies, right? Or
yeah,
like
Chinese movies.
okay.
Yeah. And he speaks Mandarin really well.
Okay.
But I had a couple of parts that I butchered Mandarin in, so they just dub over
They were
it.
yeah, right. Okay. Huh.
But he asked me if I'd ever done any acting, and I said, yeah, I've been in a couple of commercials in
Right.
high school, college, all this.
Yeah.
And so he asked me if I wanted to be an extra on a set one day,
Mm-hmm.
and it paid really well.
Yeah.
And I
And
said,
that was
yeah.
the light bulb moment.
Well,
You were
yeah.
like,
Well,
okay.
he hooked me up with his manager, his agent,
Oh.
and so
Wow.
I had a manager, an agent. She
Yeah.
was finding me work.
All of a
and-
sudden things started falling into
Mhm.
place. And
And-
okay, so when did it ever get to a point where acting started consuming more of your time than the restaurant and bar stuff?
yeah, and I was actually taking time off from work to
Ah.
go to acting jobs, and I
Gotcha.
had gone all over China doing. I was in several TV shows, several movies.
So you're famous in China.
So
but,
no, I'm not. I'm not famous in China, but
Okay.
I was in several things,
Uh-huh.
and
Did you enjoy it? Was
loved it, loved
Okay.
it absolutely. It was really good money, cash, and
Huh.
it's really easy work. You sit around all day. They call you for 10 minutes. You go
You do
take a
your
couple of
lines,
shoots, and then go back and sit around and wait.
Right.
But
Wow.
yeah, so
What was your go on, sorry.
well, no. While I was doing that, my agent called me up one day and said, "Hey, I have a job that does a lot of travel.
Mhm.
They're expecting it to have a lot of travel.
Mhm.
You'll need a lot of free time. They want you. They want to sign a contract with you to have you on permanent call basis,
Oh,
which
wow.
meant at any given moment they could call me. Hey, we got to shoot
Get on
here.
a plane, go.
Yeah.
Or get on a train and go.
And she said, would you like to audition
Are you
for it? I
being-
said, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so the audition time came around. She said, well, you're going to have to go to Singapore to audition. So I was like, cool, never been to
Yeah, always
Singapore.
wanted to
Let's
go to
go.
Singapore. Let's do that.
Flew into Singapore, went to the first audition. There was, typical audition, line out the door, a bunch of guys
Yeah.
lined up, all Western guys. And she told me beforehand, she said, it's going to be promotional videos and training videos that
Okay.
this company wants you to
And
shoot.
a lot,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah, and they had they wanted different shoots for different locations because they
Okay.
had supposedly 7 different locations around the world.
Wow.
And so
Sounds like an ideal job.
oh
Like,
yeah, I
this
thought
is
I was
the-
going
this
to
is
get
the
some
one you're always
really
waiting
great
for.
travel in,
Right.
And
Wow.
oh, by the way, little tidbit of information: Singapore is the only country I've ever been in the entire world where I've found Lone Star Light.
Really?
I went into a 7-Eleven
Who the
over
hell
there.
is exporting Lone Star Light from Texas?
I don't know, but I went
That's
into a
awesome.
7-Eleven. I was going to the beach, and I walked up
God
to the
bless
beer
that man.
to the beer section, and I was like, "Man, I want a beer for the beach," And I opened the door, and I'm looking at all the beer, and I was like,
It's
"Oh
like
my
the
god!"
rays of sunshine coming from the refrigerator. Huh? That's cool. Okay.
But
Good to
so
know.
I made it through the first round. They had the cut, and the
Mhm.
callback. I made the callback for the second round. Went to the callback for the second round. They
Yeah.
had us read some lines,
Okay.
and
Was it an American? Like, was it no? Like,
no,
what
all
was
the
the-
guys were Chinese or Singapore or not Chinese, Taiwanese or
Okay.
Singapore or Thai.
okay.
And I actually met a couple of other Americans that said that they were working for the company.
Okay.
And so,
And
but
they
it
were
was,
happy with the situation. Like, they were.
Yeah,
That
yeah, no,
still
no.
sounded great. Like, it's like
Yeah.
this is.
Yeah, and so everybody that was auditioning was either American or Western looking.
Okay.
A lot of Westerners over there get a lot of acting parts because they want.
There's not a lot of them,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's what they want to portray. Like, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're in
And-
high demand.
Oh yeah. Well, see, I actually did a job one weekend at a museum
Mhm.
because the museum had a big art collection come in from an Italian artist,
Mm-hmm.
and they had some big potential buyers coming in to
Uh-huh.
this art
Yeah.
collection that were Chinese, but they wanted an Italian looking guy to walk around. Literally paid me
What?
all day to just walk around and go up to
And look at art pieces.
paintings like this.
Mm.
and,
Wow.
and I pulled it.
I
in-
can't
I
imagine you
pulled-
like knowing who you are and how.
Hey, I had a nice 3-piece suit and everything.
That's
so
awesome.
But I actually pulled a Inglorious Bastards, a Brad Pitt moment from
Okay.
Inglorious Bastards,
Okay.
because I'm walking around. It was two of us. It was me and another American guy, and we're walking around looking at the paintings, and the artist was there. The Italian artist was there, and she comes walking up to me, and she starts speaking to me in Italian, and I speak
Like,
no Italian, so I was like, "Arrivederci."
Oh wow!
And
Okay.
she says, "Oh, you're not Italian?" I said, "No, I just love Italian art. I'm here perusing." You know?
Jeez. Okay. I didn't real. I never realized that American actors were in such high demand in that
Oh, yeah.
environment. But I
Yeah.
guess it makes sense. Okay. So you're going through this interview process and an audition process, and did it all go smoothly? Like how
Oh,
quickly
yeah.
did you
Well,
run the ladder?
the second round was I was in Singapore for a total of 4 days. The second round was day 3, and the fourth day they called us back, and there was a group of 6 of us. They called us back and they said, "You all you guys got the parts.
Wow.
What we're going to do?" They told us we're going to fly to a location, go to our office areas, and you guys are going to be in suits. You're going to be walking around, pointing, looking at
Looking.
stuff, like you're working,
Yeah.
like you're walking through office. And so they did that, and this was one of the training videos. So during this training video, I'm watching, all these things are popping up, like
There's call outs and there's
whenever you're a customer service agent, you need to supply this type of, and so I was like, oh yeah, cool. I've been in these training videos before. And so finished with that. That was the first time they flew me to Thailand. That took me a day. I was in Thailand an entire day.
You just jumped in a day and then flew right back.
Flew
You didn't get to
in,
really experience anything?
nope.
No joy? Okay.
No, flew in the next day, went to the shoot, did the shoot. Next day, they flew me back to China. They said, we're going to have another shoot, a big promotional video at a old folks home where we're giving a bunch of
Like
donations,
donations,
and we would like for you to be in that promotional
well.
video. I said, yeah, sure, no
Great.
problem. They said next month sometime. Okay, so next month they called me up. Hey, got a plane ticket. You'll be here a total of 3 days. So I was like, cool, maybe I'll
And
get
this
to
is all
see
through your manager. It just seems all legit.
Yeah,
Like it's just
yeah.
great.
I had-
This is
I
the next
had,
step. Like no red flags.
I had my agent, I had their agent, I had a acting contract with my agent, and a contract with the company stating that I was a hired actor.
Yeah.
And so everything was legit. I had
Yeah.
my pay scale, everything was out
Okay.
in the open. And went there twice. The last time was for the 3 days. The third time I went to Thailand, they told me I was going to be there for 2 days, and they were having a huge grand opening of the Thailand main office. That's where they were making the main hub.
Okay.
And so they're making this huge promotional video, going to show like a big
Yeah.
party and everything. We're going to fly everybody, all the actors in on a helicopter. Everybody's going to be waving,
Yeah.
And it was a gigantic production. I mean, they had boom cameras. They had some of the
Okay.
most famous acts in Thailand, singers and actors, doing this
Yeah.
big promotional thing. And
So it was a very well orchestrated.
oh, yeah,
No
well-
expense. No
well,
expense
come
spared.
come to find out, it was actually a promotional event for all the investors. We weren't told this ahead of time. We were
Oh,
told it was just a
wow.
video shoot, because they literally stopped the whole production like 3 times throughout the night and said, okay, everybody needs to look up at this camera and wave. And they were directing the
So in
crowd on
essence,
what to do.
you were acting, and they're flying over investors, or like, well, how?
No, all the investors were out in the audience. What was
Okay.
And they told us that this was just a big video shoot, so we all thought that they were. And we actually had 12 foreigners there at that time, and we had our own little round table set off to the side, and then everybody else. And we were up on a stage, never spoke to anybody, never said anything in any of the videos. I thought I was going to have lines in any of the videos or any of the promotional events that I went to. Never spoke to anybody.
But that's
All
not
I
rare either.
was-
You're just like, okay, I'm there. I'm just
Yeah, I
doing my
was like an
thing. Like
extra.
whatever, just pay me money. Like
I
I'm
was an extra.
Yeah.
And I mean, we literally even got up and danced a couple of times, and they had video cameras all around. Left. Everything was good. Went back to China, got a job.
What year is this now? Like
This
what?
is 2017.
Okay.
Or 16.
Okay. You had been there for
2016.
about a year. How long have you been over?
We had been in China 3 years. by
Okay.
then.
Wow. So y'all are like real settled in. Like
Oh,
you're,
yeah.
you're on autopilot. family's doing their thing, you've got your thing going, you're back and forth. When you're working, you're working. When you're home, it's love and joy and travel and experience. And okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this is like 2017. Fast forward a year later, I'm coaching baseball. You know,
Are you still working with this client at all? Did you do any more work with
because about 3 months after that, I picked up a really good job as a baseball coach for a baseball academy over there.
Okay.
And
so grabbing a different gear, life changed.
Yeah,
now you're going.
Yeah, it was stable. I wasn't going anywhere. We were just staying there, and it paid really, really, really good money. So Tanya and I could save up and take our little mini vacations. To see all the side of the world over there, and so got that job. And about a year later, Tanya and I had just gone to Cambodia for a week.
Okay.
And then came back, and there was another Chinese holiday coming up, so we were going to have 4 days.
So this is 2019.
No, this is 2018.
Late,
this is August of 2018.
Okay, mid-2018. Okay.
So she said, "Where do you want to go?" And we had gone to Siem Reap, you know, the monastery that's there.
Yeah.
And we hadn't seen the beach yet. So I said, "Well, we got two choices. We can go to Cambodia on the beach or Thailand on the beach. Which one do you want?"
Yeah.
She goes, "I don't know. You choose."
Had she been to Thailand yet?
No, she had never been to Thailand.
Yeah.
And literally the only thing that made me choose Thailand was because the plane tickets were $10 cheaper each.
Oh man.
I was like, well, it's $10 cheaper.
Yeah,
I'll
let's
save
do
20
it.
bucks. 20
Right.
bucks will stretch a long way in Thailand.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, let's go there, you know.
Wow.
And so we flew into Phuket, where we were supposed to be there for 3 days, had our hotel room and everything. Walking off the plane, not even through immigration, walking off the plane, guy met me at the end of the gangway and said, "Are you Derek Keller?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You need to come with me. You're under arrest." I was like, both Tanya and I are like, "What? For what?"
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, this is you, and you're the owner of Eagle Gates Company." And I was like, "No, I'm a paid actor for that company."
Did you even remember the company name?
Yeah, because I had
you had done so much already.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were such big productions, you know. I mean, you don't forget.
You know,
really big,
those were your big jobs. Those are the ones that stood out to
there's
you.
a mini series I was in called My 1997 over in China, and I remember that because it was a really
Big
huge
deal.
production.
Yeah.
And
so this guy, when you're coming off the plane,
he's an immigration officer,
and he's just standing at the jetway, like out the door.
Yep. Like walking off the plane, whenever you go walk up the jetway and you go out into the actual airport before you even get to immigration, anything right there.
So he knew, like that.
They knew I was on the plane.
There was strategy involved in this.
There was a warrant out for my arrest already. I had no clue that there was anything even going on with this thing.
Yeah.
You know, that was just an experience that I had, an acting experience. It was done, over with.
No.
And so. They put us in the holding cell all night. They held us all night there in Phuket. And the next morning,
the two of you, they didn't separate y'all.
No, they let us stay together. They wanted her to leave, and she was like, "No, we're staying together."
Right.
So,
was there any at this point in time? Was there any concern on y'all's? Were y'all like, this is some kind of miscommunication?
Yeah, no,
we had even, this is going to be easy.
We had even texted Beverly and had Beverly looking on my computer trying to find my contracts.
Right.
And so the next morning, the DSI, which they love to call themselves the FBI of Thailand, came and picked me up. Tanya had to buy a plane ticket to Bangkok on the same plane. They wouldn't let her sit with me. They sat on either side of me. I mean, it was like a it was like a big deal.
They weren't jacking around.
Yeah, they weren't jacking around. Yeah. And so we landed in Bangkok, and they took me to the big DSI office, and we're sitting there, and all the director and everybody comes out, and they're all looking at me, and I'm showing them videos of movies and TV shows that I was in.
Like, I am an actor. Like, this is...
Yeah, and...
how can I run a company if I'm in all these little, like...
Well, they held me there. They had a cell there for me. Tanya had to get a hotel room, first time in Thailand by herself.
Oh, man.
I'm arrested, thrown in jail.
This is day 3 in Thailand
This
now?
is day 2 in Thailand.
Oh, man.
And they held me there for 48 hours, questioning me for 2 days. And by then, Tanya and I had found a lawyer. Embassy didn't help us find a lawyer, gave us a list of lawyers to call. We asked them who we could trust, and they said, "We can't give you that type of information." Thanks. You know.
What did you do? How do you handle? And I'm sure this was just all new, a learning process. You're in Thailand. You get off a plane, you get detained, and how do you even find a lawyer in Thailand? Like, how do
Well,
you,
very first call was to the embassy because that's what everybody tells you to do. Call the embassy; they'll help you.
okay. See, I'm
Call,
ignorant. I
call.
wouldn't even know wouldn't even know to call the embassy.
Oh
Like,
well, whenever they arrested me, they gave me a paper and it said, "Oh, so you're being arrested in Thailand."
uh-huh.
And it said, "Here's the steps that you need to follow. Number one, call the
Really?
embassy, and here's the phone number." But we had
Okay.
already looked it up on the internet and everything,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
called the embassy, and sure enough, the embassy said they couldn't do anything for us. We have to get a lawyer. They don't get involved in the Thai legal process. That's the
Uh-huh.
pat answer that we got for 14 months.
Okay.
And so they gave us a list of lawyers. We started calling around. One of
Mhm.
the lawyers said that he would represent us. So he met us at the DSI office in Bangkok.
So this is a Thai lawyer. He's
Mhm.
located within
Yeah.
this within the country, and he knows the laws and can
Oh, yeah.
kind of maybe help.
Yeah. And he had a British consultant.
Okay.
Foreigners are not allowed to be acting lawyers in Thailand,
Okay.
but they are allowed to consult with
Mhm. Okay.
firms.
Okay. Did you feel like at that point you were in good hands yet, or are you still like, I'm just figuring this
Oh,
out?
no, we'll see. Okay, for me, for those 2 days, uh, having been in the military and all that,
You're like, this
I've been
is
through some really stressful situations before.
yeah.
So for 2 days, I'm sitting there going, as soon as I get Beverly sending the contract, they see the contract, they
As
see
soon
all
as
my
they send it
activity,
over in the email.
they're just going to let me go. We're going to go to Phuket. We're going to spend a day in Phuket,
So you're still waiting to
put
go
all
on the
this
beach.
behind us. Yeah. Yeah. Well, 2 days in the interview, at the end of 2 days, we're getting up and
Mhm.
I'm thinking we're going to leave.
Yeah.
And the DSI officer says, "Okay, we're going to take you to prison now." And my face just dropped. I was like, "What the hell are you talking? Why are you taking me to prison?"
Yeah.
And my wife even asked, "Well, what do you mean? Why are you taking him
So
to
she's
prison?"
there in the room
Yeah, she's
with
with us and the lawyer, and the prosecutor looked at us and said, "We know you're innocent, but we have to go through this process."
no way.
Yeah.
How did okay. I want to dissect a little bit about this interview for those 2 days. During that interrogation,
Mhm.
you said that there were a bunch of directors in the room, and like, what was the mood? Was it you sitting across the table from 6, 7, 8
Yeah,
other
yeah.
people, and they're just
Oh yeah, no, it was
banging
it was
questions into you?
the prosecutor, the head DSI agent, the
Mhm.
DSI agent in charge of my case,
Mhm.
the DSI agent in charge of the whole Eagle Gates case, their lawyers, and my wife, myself, and my lawyer.
And what kind of questions are they asking you?
Oh,
Like,
they're
how is it
like
not adding up for them?
the whole time they were asking me where all the money was, supposedly, and I didn't even know what had happened yet.
What money?
Okay, so this is what happened. I found out after I'm arrested and sitting down in front of them.
Yeah.
They tell me Eagle Gates is a fake company. They embezzled
Oh,
$26 million from the Thai people,
okay.
and you're the CEO of the company. And I was like, no,
No.
I'm not.
Yeah.
And if I've got $26 million somewhere, would you please tell me where it's at?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Wow. Okay.
so they tell us all this, and I'm like, no, no,
Is this
no.
right
And
off the bat? Like day one when they're interviewing you?
whenever
Like,
they start
it was
interviewing us,
immediate.
yeah, Tanya and I both asked them, why am I here?
Yeah.
And that's when they told us that. And
So then what? So if that's hour one on the first day, what happened the next two? What are they asking you the next 2 days?
the
Just
whole time they were showing me pictures of people, asking me if I knew them personally. They were asking me where the money was. That all they cared about was the money.
the money.
For 14 months, my bail to
Was
get
the money.
to get out, right out the gate was 1.5 million. They wanted US dollars for me to just go home. They said $1.5 million, you can go home.
You're free.
And I told them, I said, I don't have it.
Yeah.
About 2 months later, it was 1 million. Then about 2 or 3 months later, it went down to 750,000. All the way up until about 3 months before I finally got my innocent verdict and got out, they wanted 350,000 US dollars. And I told them, I said, I've given you financial returns, bank
Yeah.
accounts from all over the world for the last 7 years.
You know my reality.
Where is that money? Where do you think I'm going to get $350,000? And they were like, you're from America. Ask your friends.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you're in this interview for 2 days, and you're on the home stretch, and you're thinking, all right, it's about beach 30. I'm gonna finally get to where I want to be.
I was so confident that they were going to see that I was innocent, that the cell that they were keeping me in had a glass face to it. The first day that Tanya came to visit me the next morning, I was so confident that I was I was innocent and I hadn't done anything wrong.
Right.
I'm leaning up against the wall when she comes walking in. And when she came walking in, I said, I once ate a man's liver with some farva beans and a nice
Yeah, okay.
She came walking up and I said, hello, Clarice.
So you're in like such high spirits.
Well,
like you're like,
no,
this is
I mean,
gonna be a funny story.
Look, people deal with stress a lot of different ways. I deal
Yep.
with stress. I laugh about it, joke
Same.
about it. I try to make it easier.
Yeah.
She was just still in shock. So whenever I said, hello, Clarice, how are you? She didn't even register.
Still...
She was just like, what?
Yeah, right. Wow.
But
okay.
Yeah.
So whenever how did the last conversation go? What was the last question they asked you to where the rebuttal was, okay, we're going to take you to prison now?
The last thing they said was, okay, well, that concludes our interview. And I was like, okay, so we can go, but we can go get tickets now, go back to Phuket. And they're like, no, we're going to take you to prison. Yeah. So then they commenced to get ready to take me to prison, and Tanya and I both at that time still thought that we were just going to go.
This is a joke.
And she got really upset because I knew as soon as they slapped the cuffs on me.
This is now a big deal.
Yeah, I was like, whenever they slapped the cuffs on me, I was like, okay, now we're not in the interviews anymore.
Yeah.
I'm gone. And so they were getting ready to put the cuffs on me, and I asked them, I said, can I please hug and kiss my wife one more time? And so they said, yeah, and they allowed me to give her a kiss and hug her, and she had to use the bathroom, and I told her, I said, whenever they take me, I'm gone. So you need to stay with me. And she asked them, she said, can I use the bathroom really quick? And they were like, yeah, sure, go. So she went to the bathroom, and they drug my ass downstairs to the car and hauled me away. Yeah. And she came out, I'm gone. The lawyer takes her. I still had to go to the courtroom that day. So they take me to the court. They're arraigning me at the court, and they speak to you only in Thai. They provide you with a translator, but we were told don't trust their translator.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's telling you this? Your lawyer?
Yeah. Okay. And other people that we had talked
Advisors,
to. Online. We're getting information from other people who had gone through experiences, and people are saying, don't trust the lawyers. Don't pay the lawyers ahead of time. Don't, telling us all these things, and it's just a barrage.
You're trying to decide who to trust in the middle of trying to understand what the hell you're in.
We found out the hard way too. Our first lawyers took all of our money after that first 2 days of interview. We paid them $10,000. And they were supposed to represent me throughout the entire case. And after the interviews, they were like, we don't have time for this. They put us on to a different law firm and
just pushed you aside.
Pushed us aside and kept the money. And so we ended up losing that money. They got the second lawyers. The second lawyers ended up deciding halfway through, about 4 months into it, that the second lawyer was going to go start his own firm. So he quit the law firm that we were with. So we lost that money, and he wanted us to hire him. And then finally we got turned on to our last lawyers who ended up taking it through to the end and worked really hard. But then after the end, which we'll get into in a minute, tried to get even more money out of us.
Okay.
So it's all just a big money grab over there. They see Westerner, they see money.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay.
But so they take me to the court.
Yeah.
They arraign me. They pull me in there. I ask them. They pull me up to the front. They're speaking to me in Thai, and they give me this paper. And this guy goes, "Sign." I said, "No." He goes, "Sign." I said, "No."
Yeah.
And legally, the judge and the lawyers over there are not allowed. Almost all of them speak English, but they're not allowed to use English in court.
Really?
Yeah. Legally, they're not allowed to use it. They can only speak in Thai.
Okay.
And so they're speaking to me in Thai, and I look up at the judge and I said, I want my lawyer and I want my translator. And the judge says, oh no, we have a court translator. I said, I don't trust him.
Yeah, I don't know who he is.
And the judge says, you don't trust us? I said, no.
Yeah.
He said, why? I said, because you're arresting me and I'm innocent, first of all. So, yeah, I don't trust you.
Right.
Give me my lawyer. Wouldn't let my lawyer in, wouldn't let the translator in. So I refused to sign everything. They said, you're not going to sign anything? I said, nope, I ain't signing nothing.
Yeah.
And so they sent me out, brought me to the prison, did my whole check-in in the prison and everything. And
this is day 3?
yeah, this is day 3. Did my whole check-in in the prison, and my lawyer came, and my lawyer brought the papers and said, okay,
here's what this is.
This is where you sign. This is what it says with the translator. I said, all right, I'll sign it.
What did it say?
It was just acknowledging that I
You're under
understood what they were charging me with.
Okay.
And
not that you were guilty.
Oh yeah, no, but they did try to get me to sign several times.
I'm sure.
Guilty confessions. And they would beat the crap out of me before they would try to get me to sign it too. So yeah.
And this is while you were in
prison. Yeah. Yeah.
When did because I want to get into that.
Yeah.
But I want to understand what the onboarding process was for you. And because it's nothing like here.
Oh yeah. They take you on a bus, you're chained up feet and wrists. They put you on the bus with just wooden slats around the outside of it, and prison bus, regular prison bus. Haul you in, and
who are you on the bus with? This is your day 3. You just you're shuffled around. They change you. You're in prison clothes now.
No, I'm still in my.
You're
my
still in what you
civilian
wore
clothes.
to come into the country. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the 3rd day straight, no shower, no
Right.
bath, no. It's just.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you go through the prosecution phase of sign in, not sign in, don't want to do that. And then eventually it's like, okay, this is the next step. We're getting you on the bus. You're off to where? Do you even know where you're going? Do they?
No, well, yeah, they told me I was going to Bangkok Klong Prim prison. And Klong Prim prison, we had been searching
what that
on the
means.
internet, where all the different prisons and life, what
What's
I should
the life
be
like
expecting.
in this?
And Tanya told me before she left, okay, I got to talk to her before they took me from the courthouse to the prison, but it was across a hallway through chain link fence that everybody was yelling to their family through at the same time. Anyway, it would get so loud in there that every now and then one of the guards would jump up and scream at everybody to shut up, and it'd get quiet, and then it'd just get louder.
Yeah.
And so you could hardly hear, but
and y'all are trying to work out very complicated logistical understandings of what the heck is going on in your life right now.
Yep.
And
from about 10 feet away with people yelling all around you in a language that you don't understand.
Right.
But
okay, so
but
that's
come to find out, Klong Prim prison is one of the worst in Thailand. So it was that was a good little bit tidbit of information to know
nice
before
last
I'm
bit of
walking
info
in.
as you're getting on the bus.
Yeah, before I'm walking in.
Wow.
And so
how long was the drive? So then how did you leave? How did you leave her in that moment? Like, what? Describe to me. Y'all are yelling back and forth across this fence.
Well, they have
what changes? Are they just like, everyone get on the damn bus and go?
Well,
like,
at that courthouse, they had 1, 2, 3, 4 different holding cells in the community area, and each holding cell probably had about 100 people in there, because these are all either going to trial that day or been arrested and getting ready to go to prison. So,
do you feel vulnerable at that moment? How was the crowd?
Oh, yeah. There was never any moment where I felt safe from the guards.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you more afraid at this point because you're still feeling out your environment? You still don't know what the hell you're in. Do you feel more threatened from the people that you're locked up with, or from the guards at this point in time?
Oh, well, at that point in time, I was ignorant of any ongoings in the prison. So yeah, I was absolutely afraid of the people that I was getting locked up with. I was like, all right, who's going to try to stab me first?
Yeah.
Who's the one that's going to try to fight me first?
Right.
And
And do you stand out like a sore thumb in there?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think I was the only Western guy in those holding cells that day. There may have been 1 or 2 more, but you don't. Yeah. It's
okay. Okay. So then how does that transition happen? You're communicating through the fence across the wall. What happens next?
Well, after everything was said and done in the courtroom, and I told Tanya I didn't even sign the check-in sheet for whenever they got me there.
Yeah, you're like,
I told them I
nothing.
ain't signing it unless my
Yeah.
lawyer is standing right here with me and
Right.
tells me to sign it. I ain't signing
Good.
anything.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, whenever court shuts down, 5 o'clock, everybody starts moseying out, and then the buses come and they line you up, count you, make you strip down, check, make sure everything, make you squat, you know, and walk you on the bus. About a 30, 45-minute bus ride to the prison, because the prison is like right in downtown Bangkok.
Wow.
But
Okay.
go into the prison, they run you through medical, they check your teeth, you know, supposedly check everything.
Yeah.
Then x-ray you, don't even give you your prison clothes yet. Take you to Den 1. Den 1 is check-in den. That's everybody, unless you're VIP and you pay, everybody only spends 2 weeks in Den 1. Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, you have to pay money, and that's like one of the VIP areas. So it's there's a lot less people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but walked in there, they gave me a blanket or 2 blankets and a pair of shorts that didn't fit.
Okay.
And a shirt that didn't fit. So they told me, don't wear it. Just stay in your clothes. So had my civilian clothes on. Take your shoes, take all that. They give you a little locker, probably 2 foot by 2 foot square locker, maybe 3 foot deep. And that's where you can keep anything extra that you're not allowed to bring to the lockup with you.
Okay.
So didn't have a lock though. So I put all my stuff that I got in there except for my blankets, because you weren't allowed to bring anything up to the the cell. The next morning I went down there, shoes gone, clothes gone.
Yeah.
Everything's gone.
Right.
So I had shorts and a t-shirt at that time, a sleeveless t-shirt too at that time. Got in a fight my very first night there.
Really?
I walked into the room, they lined us up, brought us up to the room, walked into the room, set my everybody else is setting their blankets down. Learned in the military, went in Rome.
Yeah.
Do as the Romans. So I walked over to the wall, set my blankets down. Well, that was the guy who was in charge of the rooms. That was the wrong
move to make.
That was his spot.
Okay.
And he came over and he kicked my blankets out of the way. And from previous hearings and understandings of everybody else, I was like, yeah, you can't be a bitch.
Right.
So went and got my blankets, put them back down in that spot, and he went over there to kick them again, and I shoved him, and I said, don't touch my shit.
Yeah. And
it was on.
Wow.
And everybody just sits there and watches you fight, and a couple of his buddies tried to break it up, and my first 4 months in prison, I was nice when I was fighting.
Okay.
But I was fighting so much that I got tired of it, so I quit being nice. And that's whenever the fighting started tapering off, because everybody was like, okay.
Now he's not fucking around.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Don't fuck with him. He'll hurt you.
Right.
Because before I would finish the fight and leave it.
Now you know. Don't mess with me anymore.
Country boy.
Yeah.
You fight, you trade some licks, everybody goes on their separate ways. Leave it at that. You don't actually have a disagreement and a fist fight with somebody from where I'm from.
Yeah.
To
kill him,
permanently hurt that person, you know, it's just a proof point.
Right.
So I did that my first 4 months. After a while of so much fighting, I was just like, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah.
So I quit being nice, and people quit messing with me.
Jeez.
But I was one of the biggest guys in there. So
okay, so that's actually one of my questions. So I have no experience in Thailand. I was supposed to go last year, and then while you were going through this experience, I'm weighing whether or not this is something that I even want to take a risk on.
Yeah.
And ended up not going as a result, to be real honest. But one thing that I was told on my journey to get there was that you know, like, you can pretty much get around as an American, as a 6'1" guy. Like, you stand out. Your stature, you're just a larger individual than anyone else around. So you really don't have to worry about theft or like people or threats or stuff like that. But how was that? Did you, in the system, when you got into the system, you said you fought that first night, how often was that the case? How often did you find yourself in conflict?
Whenever I first got in, I was getting into a fight probably about twice a week.
Wow.
And then it
For
was once.
petty things, or because you're a
No,
Westerner?
it was simply because I was one of the biggest guys in the whole building.
Mhm.
Plus, I was a Westerner.
Okay.
And if you could beat my ass, then you had bragging
you're
rights.
the honcho. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, then about every 2 weeks, once every 2 weeks, I was getting in a fight because every 2 weeks, new people would come into the building.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then one of the cool things that happened in there was I was going through medical one day because I can't remember it. I think it was one of the times. I don't know if it was one of the times that I got in a fight or one of the times that the guards whooped on me a bit. But I had to go to medical, and so I went to medical. And I'm sitting there and I look over and there's a guy and I saw that he was Westerner whenever I walked in.
Yeah.
And so I sit down and I look over and I see the side of his leg and there's a big Texas tattoo on the side of it. And I said, "Oh my God, are you from Texas?"
Yeah.
And the guy it was his first day. So he's sitting there
He's freaking.
he turned around and he was like, yeah, I'm from Texas.
Yeah.
And so I get up and I walk over there and I'm like, "Man, I'm from Texas too." And he's like, dude, the guards. I was like, don't worry about the fucking guards. We'll be all right.
Yeah. Let's not.
Because I had been in there
You've been waiting. Like,
I had been in there for a while. At
Right.
that point, I think I had been in there for like this was like 7 months in that I saw this guy. Come to find out, he was living over there. He's a big time like MMA Muay Thai fighter.
Whoa.
Very famous, been on TV, had several titles, but he was living there. And they were trying to extort money out of him, so they arrested him at a 7-Eleven for like stealing something. But he was in line to pay for it, hadn't even paid for it yet.
It was just
It
another
was
one
just
of
an
those
extortion
situations.
thing,
Yeah.
And so he ends up being from Columbus.
What?
Columbus, Texas.
25 minutes from where you came from.
He was in high school at the same time I was. We played football against each other. Well, so this guy, very famous in Thailand. He is known for fighting one of the best Muay Thai fighters in Thailand.
Yeah.
Like on TV, everybody, they called him Bukau, because the guy's name is Bukau, who he fought, which is like translates to white orchid or something like that. But so they called Chris Bukau. And these guys, I don't know what the hell they were thinking. They end up moving him after his 2 weeks from Den 1 into my den. And a den is a building.
Okay.
So they moved him from Den 1 to Den 6, which is my building. He comes walking in the gate and I'm like, "Oh my God, Chris," I go walking up, we're sitting there talking.
Yeah.
Then they end up putting him in my room.
Whoa.
So we're bedding next to each other.
Wow. So in the darkness, there's a little light now.
Two of the biggest guys in the entire building.
Yeah.
One of them's a professional fighter,
MMA
and
fighter.
the other one, by that time, everybody knows, don't fuck with.
Yeah, you're El Honcho.
So Chris and I are walking around the building one day, and I stop, and he looks at me. He's like, "What's up?" I said, "You do realize we could run this fucking joint if we wanted to." He goes,
right.
"Yep," and we just kept walking.
Wow. Okay. So how's morale during all of this? How was the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter in the home stretch? Like
you want to get real now?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, you're such a high-spirited guy. Like naturally, like we're having this conversation, and you're elaborating mostly about the positive parts of this experience because you're a positively minded person.
Yeah.
There had to have been moments throughout this thing, if not a lot of moments, where that was not the case.
Oh yeah. Whenever Tanya had to leave, because she was only there for 2 days after I got like actually in the prison. I saw her the next day, and
she came to the prison. Yeah,
and you're only allowed to visit once a day, and you only get 30 minutes per visit.
Okay.
And it's through glass, right next to everybody else. Well, whenever she was leaving, I asked her, because if you had visitors, they could buy stuff on the outside and send it in to you. And I asked her to get me some toiletries and stuff like that. Told her that I didn't have anything, and I needed everything. And so she said she would do it. And you talk,
yeah.
You talk about hard.
Because now it's reality.
Yeah. Well, with her leaving, she had to go back to China because she was the only one working.
Yeah.
And so she had to leave. And whenever she left, I thought, I thought that was the last time I was ever gonna
Really?
see. Yeah. So to tell her goodbye through glass, and
And you have nothing in your control now.
yeah,
You're just hope. Your whole world's just been flipped up. We
yeah.
we
I'm
joke right
I'm
now.
surrounded by people who don't understand me
Yeah.
and laugh at me whenever I yell at them because they're yelling at me and neither one of us understand what the other one's saying. So
Yeah. So we joke now with this whole COVID thing going on, how the world's entirely different. And we look at like everything's so different than it was last year. Like that happened to you in a matter of 48 hours, where your
yeah.
entire understanding of the way your life was going to be
Yeah.
is now no longer that reality.
Hmm.
Is that whenever it really set in? Like
Well,
whenever?
no, my first moment that I had where I actually see, I still held out hope for
Sure.
probably the first month that I was there.
Okay.
I was like, okay, we're gonna get shit done. It's not gonna be. And I was even telling the other people that spoke English that were, because everybody asked you about your case.
Yeah.
Everybody, and on my card, my ID card that they had on my locker, it
Yeah.
didn't help that it said, literally translated from Thai as International
Remember.
Criminal Mastermind.
Oh,
So,
geez. Wow.
so all of the prisoners think I'm an international criminal mastermind,
Yeah.
and
What the heck?
yeah, yeah, I've got
Okay.
that card at the house too.
Yeah, I would frame that too.
Uh,
Not everybody gets to be an evil villain in their lives at one point. Jeez.
uh,
Okay.
But where it really hit was I had been writing letters to Tanya and my kids
Okay.
and my family, and was waiting, hoping that I was going to get a letter or word from them somehow.
This is
And
how you're a month in, like
a
when?
month in, and
Okay.
I had written Tanya probably twice a week the
Mhm.
whole first month that I was there, and the kids wrote letters.
Oh.
I mean, you have 18 hours in the cell,
Okay.
and the cell is probably about 50 feet long by about 15 feet wide,
Okay.
and there's at one point we had 110 people in that cell.
Holy crap.
We had to sleep in shifts. One person sleeping while the other one stands right next to him.
What?
And then after 8 hours, you shift. And so 16 hours in the cell, one toilet, no walls. And then
Whoa.
the rest of the time they bring you down to the yard. Well, while you're out in the yard, unless they give you a job, they have factories in the dens,
Okay.
and they force everybody to work. And
Okay.
they force you to build, like we put together popcorn boxes, ammunition boxes that held ammunition for the United States government. I know
Oh.
because it said M16
Yeah.
ball ammunition.
You're like, oh, I remember these.
Yeah.
Like that's weird.
Put those together. Other like flyers and bags, the bags that you get whenever you go to like hospitals and stuff.
Yeah.
And if you get stuff to go in a paper bag,
Yeah.
put those bags together, glue them together. What happens is the guards contract through the companies to get these boxes and bags made, and then they
Mhm.
come in and they force the
They
prisoners
enforce the prisoners
to
do it.
build the boxes or
Yeah.
bags,
Mhm.
and then the prisoners only get like, I think it's 30 baht per month,
Yeah.
and
Which
30 baht is equal to about $5 US. Well, that's on the RMB
so your 1.2 million bail you could have gotten in like, I don't know, like 800 years or
yeah,
so.
yeah.
That's good. Okay.
But and you only get that as credit to the store.
To the store, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And so
Wow.
if you didn't have a job, after a while, whenever I first got there, they were forcing us to work too. And I told the embassy they were forcing me to work. They are literally, this is a forced labor camp.
Yeah.
And if I don't work, they will beat me.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it? We do not get involved in the Thai legal process. Are you being treated like the other Thais?
That was their response.
Yeah. And
Are you being treated like the others?
Yeah. And I told them, I said, I'm not Thai. I'm American.
Yeah.
And I'm here innocent.
Right.
I'm not guilty of
And
anything.
I served for your country. Like,
yeah.
Like,
And I'm a veteran. And they were just, well, if you're getting treated like the other Thais, we do not get involved in the Thai legal process. And so
So, okay.
So at the end of that month, I had written all these letters,
Yeah.
and the head guard called me into his office and showed me my letters that I had written and ripped them up and threw them in the trash in front of me,
No way.
and said that if I wanted to speak to anybody, that I had to pay him first. I had to give him money to let my letters
So we've
go.
been holding on to all your letters.
Mm-hmm. And they were holding on to all my letters from home too. So I hadn't. I went 4 months. I had no money, no clothes. All the stuff that Tanya had bought me,
Yeah.
got stolen.
Mm-hmm.
No food, because if you want anything extra other than the maggot-ridden rice and the bowl of broth that they give you to share,
and that's
with
legitimately
another
what it like. It was that like.
Yeah, it was.
What are you
I
eating?
didn't know people could fuck up cooking rice. They can.
Yeah.
Everybody here's from a little country town. You know what it's like. Have you ever gone into a tack room and open a 55-gallon drum of horse feed or something, and you get that musky smell?
Yeah.
That's what the rice smelled like every day. And
So you're
so
living off little bowls of rice.
the maggots added a bit of creaminess.
Come on.
A piquant of
A
creaminess
piquant,
to it.
Right. Yeah.
But
Jeez.
what they would do is they would, much like the cafeterias at schools,
Mhm.
they would march you in, and you'd have to stand in front of the table, and you have to stand there with your arms crossed.
Okay.
And I got the crap beat out of me for not doing a lot of things, because I'm here and I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get me to do this shit. Fuck you.
Right. 100%.
If you're gonna beat me, I'm gonna earn it.
Yeah.
You know. And so they wanted you. They blow the whistle, and they wanted you to slap your hand. And then they blow the whistle again. They want you to go. And then they blow the whistle, and you say.
So they're like conforming you into this structure.
They blow the whistle again, and you say, "Thank you to the king for providing the food to me."
Yeah.
And so I didn't even cross my arms. I'd just stand there and be like, "We gonna eat yet or what?" You know.
Right. Exactly. I don't
And
have
then
a king.
and then after that, they would all the guards carried around a stick that they would hit people with. They would slap that stick down, and then everybody would sit. You had a plate of rice, which was usually mounded up, because it was throwaway rice anyway. They didn't give a shit. And you had a bowl in the middle, and it was you sitting across from a guy. In the bowl, you usually had 2 bones with a little bit of meat on it, hopefully, and about 1 or 2 vegetables. You hoped that there was an even number of vegetables and bones, because if there was an odd number, then you and that guy were fighting. It didn't matter if you said, "You can take the whole bowl. I just want rice today."
Yeah.
That was known in the cafeteria.
Really?
And so you knew you were going to get into a fight in the cafeteria one day if, whenever you were lining up, you had an empty spot in front of you, because then the guards had their guy that they would put in front of you to try and teach you a lesson.
Really?
Yeah. And so sometimes guys would skip a seat because they wanted to sit across from their friends. And you talk about seeing some new guys get nervous whenever you got that empty spot there, and everybody's in line, and they blow the whistle for everybody to sit down, and this poor guy's just sitting there sweating bullets like, "Oh my God, I'm going to get my ass beat. I know it's coming."
Yeah. So when you're going through this evolution time, day after day after day, how are you learning to adapt? How are you starting to notice these little things they'll avoid or to hold your ground on? How are you analyzing that?
Well, whenever you start walking around the yard, there's always, and I became this guy, anytime there was somebody new that spoke English, there's always one person who goes up and says, "Listen, don't go over here."
You got the keys. You're the guy that's you're explaining the things, the do's and don'ts. So who was your guy?
Don't walk this way. It was an African guy from Cameroon.
Okay.
His name was Kingsley. That was the only thing I ever knew him by was Kingsley. But he was the leader of the Christian group. They did on Sundays, they would get together in the library. They had a library there. It was open. So all the books were like that water rot, but they did have one thing that the embassy did do was provide me with reading material. So if somebody at the embassy got finished with a book, they would throw it into a donate bin, and they would bring it to the prison.
How nice.
Yeah. But so they would have Bible study meetings.
Gotcha.
And he came up to me and he started explaining to me everything that was going on. And he was friends with an American who was in there before, who was wrongfully accused of murder there.
Holy cow.
Yeah, the guy had literally was renting, his apartment was in a building, a 3-story building. And on the outside of the building, around the corner, there was a freezer with a padlock on it. He didn't own the building. He just rented an apartment there.
Yeah.
Cops came and raided the entire building one day and opened the freezer. There was a chopped up body in there.
Oh, man.
And they charged him with murder of it. Even though whenever they found the date of the murder of the person, he was in Iraq. He was a veteran too. He was in Iraq serving at the time. So he had moved there like a year after this person had been killed.
Yeah.
But they still tried to charge him with the murder. It took him almost 2 years to get out.
Okay.
But
so
Kingsley starts talking to me. He tells me the whole lay of the land.
Mm-hmm.
After the head guard brought me in and ripped my letters up and my family's letters up in front of me,
yeah,
I really got in a low spot.
I can imagine.
I mean, I was, number one, I was starving. I had the only thing I had to eat was what they provided in the cafeteria.
How much did you weigh going into?
280.
Okay.
I was 280 pounds whenever I went in.
Yeah.
Whenever I got out, I was 225. It hadn't been 225 pounds since high school.
Yeah. Wow.
But
okay. So the guards ripping up your letters, you now realize you're just alone. Like you got no way of.
And let me tell you, there is a pain that you get with starving that you have never experienced. It's like the flu. Mm-hmm. Like you went out and rode as hard as you could a horse or a motorcycle all day long and beat the crap out of your body, and then got the flu on top of that. Mm-hmm. And then you're so tired you can't sleep. Yeah. And you're so weak you don't want to move. I mean, at one point I was I literally laid on a concrete bench for 4 days and thought this is where I die. Yep. Wow. And about 2 days later, kindness in the world is
weird how sometimes things work out
and how it affects you. 2 days later, this man who, God, I wish I could figure out his name. Yeah. Had holes rotting in his shirt, came up to me and gave me an extra shirt that he had because my shirt had rotted off of me by then, and offered me some of his food that his wife had bought him and sent it. And the guy had nothing. Yeah. You know. Wow. And then he sat there and shared his food with me, and I decided, you know what? That's whenever I decided. I looked at those guards and I said, "Fuck you! Mm. You ain't doing this." Yeah, yeah. If anybody's gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. You know. Yeah. You ain't doing this. You ain't beating me. I'm gonna beat me. And so then I got up and I literally just got up and I went to the library and started reading. And started keeping count. And 127 books later, I was
whoa. Wow.
127 books later.
So did that kindness moment, did that ignite a new fire in you? Like what? Yeah. Was that when you felt like you shifted, your mindset shifted?
It picked me up and because at that point I hadn't heard from my family. Yeah. Hadn't heard. My lawyer only came once a month, and they had already been and gone. And
you've already had issues with them left and right. Yeah,
and I'd gone through two lawyers already. Yeah. So I didn't know what was happening. Mm-hmm. Didn't know what was happening with my case. The embassy only comes once a month, and if you miss them, then you've got to wait until the next month.
Another month.
And so finally, missionary came in to visit. Mm-hmm. Tanya's mom in Florida told her church, her congregation, what was going on. Yeah. They happened to have a missionary in Thailand, in Bangkok. So they sent somebody to talk to me, and this guy must have been doing it for a while because he said, "Listen, I got some letters and some emails from your family I'm going to give you," which I kind of sat up.
Yeah, holy cow.
And he goes, "You're Catholic, right?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "What is it that you need or want?" He goes, "Like, what is your favorite thing?" And I said, "Well,
didn't even know how to respond. Almost like
I said, "It's been 4 months since I've had honey or peanut butter, and I'd love some honey or peanut butter." And he goes, "Done." Tell them that you need to receive sacramental goods. And I was like, what? So, because they're Buddhist, all the cards, they don't know Christianity.
Yeah.
So he literally
Gave you the key to the
gave them missalettes, and in the missalettes, he had hidden emails from my family, and told them that honey and peanut butter were sacramental goods that I needed to help me in my
Wow.
And so they let it in. I had nothing. I got peanut butter and honey. I'm rich.
Yeah, at this point, you just went from like.
So I took the peanut butter in, and currency in there was milk cartons.
Okay.
The milk cartons you get at school.
Yeah.
Those little milk cartons were 10 baht each, and so that was the easiest thing to use as currency. So I went in and immediately I started selling scoops of peanut butter for milk. And,
so now you are the criminal mastermind.
Yeah.
Now you are the mastermind.
Took me going to prison to break the law.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, so then I started picking up. And,
what was it like being able to finally feel connected to your family again?
Oh, God.
What was it like getting all those emails? And
for 4 months, I did not shed a tear in front of one man. I would.
You were
find
stone cold hard.
I would cover myself up with the blanket. Nobody heard it. If it just had, or after I found a new outlet afterwards, which is probably another reason why I lost so much weight. Is I would run whenever I was crying. Like if something bad happened. Like one time I found out in January, I found out that I was going to have to wait till August to get my verdict. I thought I was getting out in January.
Yeah.
And
now
then here it is.
7 months later, 8 months later, you may get free then.
Yeah. And so I was so angry whenever I got back. I was so angry. I was literally crying mad. And so I just started running. And I was sweating so bad that nobody could tell that I was crying too, unless you looked at my face while I'm running and I'm going,
right. Wow. But, so you get all these letters and emails. What's the feeling? Like,
oh God! So
what is being said? What are they even asking?
By the time that I got the letters, because it took them a week to get everything into me. Yeah. They don't just hand it right over to you. The guards got to check it, and.
Are you friends with the guards at this point?
No. They.
So is there still a chance they're going to rip these up in front of you, or like what?
No, they can't do it. And the Buddhists, it would be against their religion.
Got it. So now this is the avenue where you can kind of navigate a little better.
That's why he knew that he could get stuff into me.
Gotcha.
And so, and he got me a pair of shoes. I hadn't had shoes for 4 months, and it was all concrete out there.
Yeah.
And no shade. There was two places with shade, and you had to know somebody to be able to get to the shade.
Boy.
So you're out in the sun the entire time. Not to mention, the shower area is right next to the open sewage.
Oh.
So when it rains and it floods, you're walking through shit.
Yeah.
And all the so shoes. I had shoes for the first time in 4 months. That was fun, and there were Crocs, but
hey, yeah.
I would have fought you for them Crocs.
Right, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, not letting those leave your sight. Like,
yeah. So throughout that next week that I'm waiting to get all my stuff, I've got energy. I'm getting a little bit more positive attitude. I have come to this decision in my life. I'm
taking control. I'm going to control what I can control now.
So I start becoming friends. I start working out with these couple of guys. They had a little workout area where guys, so I started working out with the guys, I was like, you know what, no more.
Yeah.
And at the end of that week, one of the guard who was in charge of the little workout area, I got to be friendly, not friends, but friendlier, because he got to know me. Then whenever I get all my stuff in, I start working out even more. One of the Thai guys came up to me and he grabbed my arm. He said, "Big muscle, you show me." And so I was like, "Yeah, I can train you."
Yeah.
And I told him 2 milks. And he says, "Okay, 2 milks." So he paid me 2 milks, and I did a workout program with him every day. Then got more guys. Well, come to find out, one of the guys that I was in the prison cell with was the king's ex-brother-in-law.
Okay.
the king-elect. He hadn't been
Whoa.
coronated
Yeah.
yet. So
Yeah.
it was
So-
still in, it was a coup that took over the country in the
Yep.
first place. So it was still run by a military coup. And so the king's ex-brother-in-law, this military coup, was trying to extort money out of him by saying that he used the king's name to purchase a bunch of land. So he's in there, but he's huge
Yeah.
VIP, right?
Big VIP.
Well, he sees me training these guys, and he comes up and asks me if I'd train him, and he had access to weights. So I was like, "Oh hell yeah, I'll train you."
I got you, brother.
Not to mention,
let's work on your side of the fence.
Yeah,
like,
he was one of the only guys in the entire prison that had a private room.
Yeah.
Plus a private bathroom.
So getting friends with him
So
is a good upgrade.
Yeah. So as long as nobody's messing with him, if I'm training him and I become friendly with him,
Yep.
guess who's not going to mess with me?
Right.
So I start training him, and then the guards, start recognizing.
Yeah.
Well, then I start making money because, okay.
Lay it on me.
I finally started getting food in.
Uh-huh.
What are the food? Whenever they bring food in, they'd always have them in these plastic, like hard plastic containers that were hard to open. You needed a knife to open it.
Okay.
So I got a lid from a can of tuna, folded it up really tight, left the edge out.
Yeah, to where you can.
Got me a twig, found some twine, wrapped it around the twig, sharpened the tuna can lid up, made my own knife. Somebody sees that I have a knife.
Now it's
they come up to me, 4 milks.
Mm.
So I start making knives.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I start making knives and selling the knives. By then, I still hadn't had any money, so I needed some. I'm starving.
Yeah. You can't live off of just rice and some bones.
Come to find out, the embassy had misplaced all the money that Tanya had been sending me for them to be putting into my account. Yeah, somebody lost their job over that one. But so this was like 4 or 5 months in that I didn't have any money, that she had been sending money.
Yeah.
And
are you able to talk to her at all during this?
No.
Like, still no communication. Like
14 months, I did not hear my wife's or children's or family's voices, or see their faces.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were the guards like? And you mentioned that throughout this process, they'd always ask you to sign shit you didn't want to sign, and then they just beat the shit out of you because you didn't.
No, they beat you before.
Okay.
In the hopes that you would be afraid of another beating.
Gotcha.
But they quit doing that to me because they found out that after a while, I started fighting back. I didn't give a shit. I thought I was going to be there the rest of my life anyway. And so I started fighting the guards.
Yeah.
And then they found out that I liked being in solitary more than I liked being in the rooms.
Yeah.
So they quit putting me in solitary.
God. Okay.
Solitary was a room as big as this couch.
Yeah. But you could lay down by yourself.
With a toilet. So you had your own private toilet, your own...
Bring it on. Yeah, I'll take a black eye for a couple days.
I had to sleep with my feet up against the wall, but now,
better.
I'll take it. I didn't have to sleep snuggling two strange people with scabies and lice. And,
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And which I got while I was in there. I got scabies, I got lice. Oh, whenever we got lice, they made us the big bath tanks that they had the water in, where we had to scoop the water out of and bathe ourselves with. They basically made that into a cattle dip tank.
What?
They filled it with the rid or whatever it was that they used to get rid of the lice and stuff, and they made us all jump in it. And
what?
Yeah. So they ran us through it like cows. But
wow.
I know it puts people off that I laugh and smile about.
Well, no, but your demeanor. What else can you do
I've
now?
told my kids their entire life, you got two choices whenever shit like this happens to you. You can laugh about it or cry about it. And crying about it ain't gonna do a damn thing anyway. Yeah. I mean, every now and then I do.
Sure, I'm sure you have your moments. But so let's talk about those moments. What for you was the hardest to process over those 14 months? Like, was there
right before I finally started getting the letters from my family, I thought that everybody had given up on me and just written me off.
Really?
And that was part of the depression and
so you
the
got
starvation.
To a dark place.
And yeah.
Because you can't hear you're not hearing from anyone. You don't know what the outside world. Your life is continued on in a totally different way without any concept of what the rest of the world is doing.
Yeah, I thought everybody had abandoned me. and that is a very, very hard.
Place to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What PTSD do you feel you have now as a result of all this experience?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime I go through any immigration, even coming back into the United States,
Yeah.
uh, anxious, anxiety,
Yeah.
nervous, shaking, sweating. I mean, it's
I can imagine.
and then anxiety over looking anxious.
Yeah.
Because
Now
then they're
I'm
going to
like,
see that I look
now
anxious.
I'm looking nervous. Yeah, exactly. Now I'm standing out. I don't want to.
Mhm.
Jeez.
So
Okay.
that's over crossing any border.
Yeah.
Actually, even going into an immigration center, whenever I got out and I went back to China, because Tanya and Beverly still live there. Well, I went to China. I did not go back to Thailand, and
Yeah.
never will.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna ask, but I assumed.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
The 2021 vacation.
Yeah.
Not Thailand. Okay.
But although it would be a nice one to take during 2020, it would go right along
with
with
the year.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I could imagine.
But so I went to China,
Uh-huh.
and whenever coronavirus hit, they canceled everybody's visas. Like, I have a 10-year visa for China, and so I can go in and out, but I have to exit every 90 days.
Okay.
Just exit and go back in. That's what we used to do. Every 90 days, we'd go to Hong Kong,
Mhm.
come right back. Visa's good to go for another 90 days.
Mhm.
Well, whenever coronavirus hit, China canceled all those visas. They put you on I think it was a 2 or 4 week or 6 week visa.
Okay.
So you would get renewed, they would give you a stamp, go, and then you'd have to go back to the immigration office to renew the stamp again if you're staying.
Mhm.
And because of Corona, they weren't letting anybody leave.
Mhm.
So every time I had to go into that office,
Oh,
just anxiety out.
yeah.
It has ruined me on going through immigration. And believe it or not, I was one of the rare people who loved that experience
it, yeah.
before.
Right.
You know, I loved the whole being in an
The
airport.
chaos of it all.
Yeah,
Just going like. Yeah.
Seeing people who are happy to see each other crying because they're leaving each other. I loved that whole thing. And now, anytime I have to touch an immigration office, it's ruined for me. So,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
so that, and just speaking like not right now, not while I'm speaking about it, but afterwards, the decompressing of talking about
going through the process.
I'll feel I can tell when an episode is coming on, because I'll get jerky.
Yeah.
You know, like, and alert, very alert.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start shaking,
Mm-hmm.
and I literally have to just find a place to calm.
Okay.
And
well,
listen, I know my mom's gonna hate that I said this on camera, and whether or not you put it on, but weed helps a lot.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
No, same. No, very much. Yeah. No, absolutely.
I am a huge advocate of that as a medicine. Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And so I don't mind talking to people about it. I tell everybody, if you want to know something about it, ask.
Well, seriously, that's a gift of yours that I think, and I hope will shine even through doing this, is just educating people about what you've went through, and just enlightening that these things happen in the world, and also just your demeanor about how you even handled it, and like, so you went into the PTSD stuff, and I'm sure that you obviously are still carrying a pretty heavy weight from what all you went through. How did it all end? How did did you ever get in a groove? You had your Texan buddy, and y'all I would imagine that was a pretty good groove you got settled into. What was the evolution after that? So we kind of talked about the first half of the game.
You find a routine. That's how you deal with it. That's literally how you deal with it. You find a routine. Every morning they would get us up, and every morning at 4:30 they play the Thai national anthem. And then there's a TV in the room, and then they put the TV on, and it's Buddha prayers. Okay. And this is another reason why I got the shit beat out of me by the guards was they wanted everybody to sit in line and face the TV and like sit there and bow like for the Buddhist prayers. Yeah. And I never did that. I sat up against the wall out of the line. And anytime you walked in front of a guard or a Buddhist prayer. They have the little
The shrines.
a
Or,
little shrine, a Buddhist
okay.
shrine.
Mhm.
Anytime you walk in front of that or in front of a guard, they wanted you to bow. And I told them, nah, I bow before no man. I bow before God.
Yeah.
And, and
Yeah.
I got the crap beat out of me for that one a lot.
So what
But-
happens when they're beating the shit out of you? Like, there's no authority there? Like, that's just okay. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, that's just,
You
you're in the
see
prison
it
system.
happening, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
wonder what he did.
Right. Yeah.
And
Okay.
well, I mean, so, and that's not even the half of it, Jordan. I mean,
Well-
I had a guy die right next to me of leprosy. Half of his foot was rotted off. He died right next to me. They left him laying on the floor all day the next day and took him out 10 minutes before we went back up to the room to go to bed, and no washing or nothing, just brought him out in the blanket that he died on. I had to watch a guy die of a heart attack. I knew he was having a heart attack. Lips are blue, couldn't breathe, couldn't feel the pulse.
Yeah.
And I was getting ready to give him CPR, and everybody pulled me off. I was getting ready to fight somebody to let me
To
give
give you
him
CPR. Yeah.
to give him CPR. And they finally told me, they said, no, if you give him CPR, if you touch him and he dies, they charge you with murder. So I just had to sit there and watch this gentleman die from a heart attack. I could not help him.
Yeah.
And I mean, hell, I was in the fire department for 20 years.
How do you,
How do I not help
someone in that situation?
And
Yeah.
saw guys getting, stabbed to death. I got into one of the really big fights I got into was about 4 guys were trying to rape a man, just this young kid from like I think it was from Myanmar. They were trying to rape him to prove a point, and I wasn't having any of that. And
That's
so
not how it was going to be today.
And so me and one of the other guys that was in there helped me break that up, and they didn't like that all too much, but I didn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to die of something. I just knew in there I was going to die of something. Either I was going to get sick and they weren't going to give me medical attention, or while that guy was having a heart attack, we're yelling down at the guards. I'm screaming at the guards.
Yeah.
Chris got so sick, my Texas buddy, he got so sick, I was screaming at the guards. They came up to beat me. And I said, I don't care as long as you take him to the hospital.
Bring it. Get him out of here.
Yeah. And they took him to the hospital. He came back like 3 days later, and he was like, oh my God. He doesn't have a spleen. So he was, I don't know what it was. It was something about his diet or something like that. But it shut everything down, and he almost died. But it took me almost getting my ass beat by the guards
to even get that happening.
To the to the hospital.
Where did Chris phase out in this? Is he
Chris ended up going to court one day. He had his final court appearance, and he thought he was going to be in there with me for the
forever.
long. Well, not forever. But his what they were trying to charge him with was only like it was $50, I think, was the fine, and he didn't have it. He was completely broke. He was living at the gym.
Yeah.
And he went to court. This is another one of those random acts of kindness I was telling you guys about.
Yeah.
I'm up in the room, and you always came back from court late. They always brought you back up to the room at 3 o'clock. Well, you don't come back from court till 5.
Yeah.
The only reason you go back to your building is if you're going home or you're a VIP and you pay the guards to bring you down there.
Yeah.
Other than that night you stay in building 1. And then the next morning you go to your building. Well, he comes walking through the gate that night, and all I hear is, Derek! Derek! And I'm laying down, and I heard my name, and I jump up, and I'm pulling myself up, and I'm trying to look out, over the window, and I see him walking. I was like, Chris! He's like, I'm going home.
Wow.
Some woman, the judge told him that he needed to pay about, it was $50 or $100 US is what it translated into, in fines, and he could go. Or he was going to have to spend a year in prison.
Oh.
And this woman was sitting there, and he told the judge, he said, sorry, I don't have that
money. Yeah,
I don't have that money. And this woman's just a random woman in court said, I'll pay his fine for him.
Wow.
She paid his fine for him, and he got out, and didn't hear from him again until after I got out, and I got back. I found him on Facebook, and he's in Austin, and I went and visited him.
Oh, hell yeah.
And you talking about surreal.
I could imagine.
Seeing somebody that you knew in there.
You lived a different life with. You were living in a whole nother simulated life in this weird world. And now you're in Austin having a beer.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
whenever Chris got out, how'd that affect you?
Oh yeah, that was bad. Because I mean,
Yeah,
shit, there was a connection,
right.
a connection I had made, who
Yeah.
spoke to me, who literally lived 25
And that
miles
was
down the road from
seven,
me.
8 months into it. So that was about halfway through this endeavor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then right
Okay.
after he got out, uh, I became friends with a Indian
Mm-hmm.
guy from India, very smart,
Mm-hmm.
very articulate, very nice. And I was friends with this guy for about 3 weeks till I found out that the reason that he was in prison was he got extradited from India back to Thailand.
Ooh.
He had murdered his fiance in a hotel room in Thailand and then
Oh.
fled to India and had been living in India for like 5 years. And it was an American woman who he was also business partners with.
Oh man.
And whenever I found that out, I
Like,
was
probably
like,
not going to be best friends anymore.
yeah,
Like,
I don't think we can
yeah,
hang out
yeah,
anymore.
you're not going to.
Because he was so nonchalant about it. Whenever I asked him, I was like,
Really?
well, what are you in here for? He was like, oh, I killed a girl. What?
Okay.
Yeah, no, we got into a fight in the hotel room and I ended up choking her and beating her to death and stabbing her
Wow.
like 14 times. I was like,
Okay.
we're not friends anymore.
Yeah, maybe
buddy.
we
See
live
you
life
later."
on different
Yeah.
paces. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, just the random people that you meet in there
I
like that
could
are
imagine,
just,
yeah.
I mean, and some of them are just horrific. You can't believe that there's actually people like that on the face of this earth. You know,
Yeah.
it's
When did you start transitioning from I'm going to be in here for the rest of my life or for a very, very long time to there's some light at the end of the tunnel? You started getting letters from the family. Are they keeping you in the loop of what they're doing here? Do you have any understanding of the scope of things that are going on outside of your life?
No, never. Because every time I would get a letter from them, it would be almost a month old.
So far behind, yeah.
Yeah. And so they would be talking about stuff that I had gone to court with
And already processed
3 months ago.
Things have changed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did not think I was getting out of that prison until the judge said, you go home.
Yeah.
Kaban. Let's go home in Thai. And the judge told me that my translator, who we were paying, literally was going, oh,
yeah.
And I'm like, what? You know,
what happened?
You know, I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Did he say life? Are they going to kill me?
Right.
10 years? You know, what is it?
Holy crap.
And the judge looks at me and he goes, Kaban. And I looked at my translator and my translator said, innocent everything. I was like,
what?
I knew for sure I was going to, that they were pinning this shit on me.
How did that happen? So what day?
They had the actual head guy with all the money in the same prison as me, in the same building as me. He was VIP. I couldn't touch him or else I'd have done nasty things to him.
Yeah.
But the reason they caught him was he was Thai or Taiwanese, and he came back to the country, to Thailand, to get the money out because he wanted the money. And that's how they caught him. So this guy at any moment could have just said, yeah, he's just an actor we hired. But he didn't. They were trying to pin it on me.
Oh, man.
And so that, because he had so much money, I mean, this guy was eating fresh seafood, had McDonald's brought into him. The guards would give him cartons of cigarettes.
When did you know he was in the system? When did you find out that you're sleeping in the same building as the guy that's...
This only happened about 4 months before I got out.
Okay.
Or maybe 5 months before I got out. This guy came in, and then about a month into it, somebody told me, hey, you're with that Eagle group, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that Eagle Gates group, that's what he was like, that's the guy, that's the head guy. And then I looked at him, and the next time I went to court, I got all the
paperwork,
evidence that the DSI had, and they had, you know, a big picture book with like and there he was, number one, and I couldn't get near him because he always had about 4 or 5 guys around him and had a guard around him anytime he walked anywhere. Had his own little.
So you spent 4 months in there knowing that he's there.
Oh yeah.
And you can't do. You're like, you've got the guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
and I had already planned it out. This is different mindset.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had already planned it out that if they gave me a guilty verdict, I was going to go back
and kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
I was
at that point.
I earned it.
Yeah. Right.
Especially because I was looking at 30 years. It was 30 years to life for what they were trying to charge me.
How often were you going and reopening the opportunity to get out? Like how you said he was there.
My final evidence and where I got to testify,
Mhm.
date was in January, February. I think it was in March.
Okay.
And I found out in January that I had to wait. Then they came back and they said, okay, well, the judge says that he wants to hear you testify. So I had to go back again in March. And I went and testified. They would not let my translator ask me the questions that my lawyer was asking me. They made the court-appointed translator ask me the questions.
Okay.
His literal first question was, where from you come? That was his first legal question
legal
to me
question.
in court.
where's home?
Where from you come?
Mm-hmm.
That's how the translator asked me. I at least expect my translator to be able to speak English
in this situation.
you know. And every question that he asked me was just boggled, and I left there thinking, yeah, that ruined me.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it was just I kept repeating,
Yeah.
I'm an actor. I'm an actor.
Right.
I don't know. I'm an actor.
Yeah.
And he was just chewing up every question. And so I left there thinking I was going to stay.
Yeah.
And they told me that I didn't have another court date until August.
And this is March.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how long had you been in at that point in March?
I went in August 20th of 2018.
Yeah. And now it's March 19.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So.
And then I go to court.
Mm-hmm.
So my D-Day. And
there's a moment in time where you're waiting for, this is the next, this is the big moment. When did you first establish that date? When did you know this was my chance to defend myself again?
Oh no, there wasn't. I only got one opportunity to sit on the stand, and I tried to answer 3 questions that sounded like shit and all confused.
Okay.
And I even looked up at the judge and I went,
"What do you want me to do?"
Yeah, and he said, "No, that's good."
Okay.
And then after that, D-Day, verdict day.
Okay.
That's when they tell you how the rest of your life is going to be.
Okay.
I got another visit from the missionary, 2 visits from the missionary, another visit from Joya, a woman that I will tell you about in a minute.
Okay.
But and the embassy came to see me one last time, and I told all 3 of them, please tell somebody if they can be there. I'd like to have somebody.
Yeah.
Then we've got other people telling my family, don't go there, because if you go there, they'll arrest you and hold you and force him to sign confessions.
What the heck?
So the most important day of my life comes around, and I walk into the courtroom empty, by myself. And that is a whole nother level of alone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so
how do they move you? So how long had you been locked up at that point on your D-Day day?
14 months exact.
Okay. So 14 months.
No, 12 months exactly. That was a year. I had to wait another 2 months before I got out.
Okay. So it's been a year. It's your D-Day.
Yeah.
They throw you on a bus and take you to the courthouse. Okay.
Along with everybody else.
Okay. And you're waiting for the doors to open and see some familiar faces and go into this.
In your holding cell, they take you from your holding cell. They make sure you're good and chained up. By the time the end of my trial hit, all of the guards that worked the courtroom are different from the prison guards.
Yeah.
All of the guards that worked the courtroom were fighting over who got to go to my court.
Wow.
To sit in my courtroom with me, because it was literally a ridiculous shit show. My trial.
Yeah. You were the entertainment.
They all knew I was innocent. All the guards knew I was innocent, and it was like a soap opera for them. They wanted to see what was happening next. The prosecutor at one point, his number 1 star witness against me was the driver for the guy who was in charge of the company. It was his professional driver who spoke no English.
Yeah.
Only saw me one time at one of the video shoots. And the only reason he knew who I was because his boss told him I was the CEO.
Wow.
So it's hearsay evidence.
Yeah.
That they're introducing. Not only that, they were trying to introduce comments from Facebook that you could tell were from a fake account.
Really?
And completely made up. They were trying to.
Do you think the owner of the CEO of that company is creating all of this falsified information?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
That's
yeah.
where this is coming from, right?
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
he's fabricating these
Oh,
things.
Yeah. And
Wow.
but it was so poorly done. They had crudely taken my picture, a picture of my face, and Xeroxed it over a picture of a video clip.
Oh, wow.
To try and say that
you're that guy. You're the guy in this.
You could tell, you could see the cut from around the picture on the, and my lawyer pointed it out after. I was like, what the hell is this? In the court, my lawyer pointed it out and the prosecutor was like, oh, we won't admit that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're uphill battling this.
It was a sham. And so that's why the whole time I was thinking,
even simple logic and simple, like there's no, you can't prove any, like you just, no matter what, you're damned. Like it's, okay.
And so on the day, they bring you to the cell. They didn't put chains on me anymore at that point because they all knew I was innocent.
They knew who you were.
So they bring me up to the court. They walk me into the courtroom and the doors open, and it was a huge courtroom that they had because it was a huge trial. Yeah. And open the doors.
Do your family know that this is going on at this moment in time?
Like I don't know. They were supposed to know the date of my verdict.
Okay.
But the embassy was supposed to have a representative there for me to help explain what all the process was after all this. No embassy. I had a lawyer, a translator, and Miss Joya.
Okay.
Miss Joya, and I will not say her last name or anybody because if somebody. Miss Joya knew my brother-in-law from an art group on Facebook. Okay. He happened to mention the fact that I was in prison in Thailand in this art group, and Miss Joya said, "Oh my God, I'm living in Bangkok.
I'm going." Yeah.
She said, "Would you like for me to go visit your brother-in-law?" And he said, "Absolutely." She came to visit me, and her husband and her family. I was telling your sister about this earlier.
Yeah.
Whenever I got out of prison, I saw the woman 3 times, and all 3 times she brought me something brought me tennis shoes. I had tennis shoes instead of just Crocs after that. Yeah. Would bring me newspapers, buy food outside, send it in to me. Just wow. Just absolutely
out of the kindness of her heart, just became integral now to your life, like imperative person in your life.
At one point, she was sitting across from me, and she had her phone, and she was like, "They didn't take my phone from me this time. I'm going to try to get Tanya on speaker."
Whoa!
But it wouldn't connect, and so I didn't get to speak to her. She was like, "I'll
she cared
hold the
that
phone
much.
up." Yeah. Get this, after I got out, whenever I got innocent, she was in the courtroom.
Yeah.
She came to the court to hear my verdict and cried and was happy whenever she found out. Her and her husband picked me up outside of the prison when they let me out. I was supposedly, I don't know if fact check this or not, but supposedly I am the first foreigner ever in the history of Thailand to be released to the public. They literally let me walk out the front door of the prison.
Wow.
The only other person that they let do that are the Thais. Every other foreigner has to go through immigration, immigration detention center. But because they found me innocent on everything and dropped all charges,
it was just like, go to the beach now.
They couldn't charge me with overstaying my visa because it was their fault so they gave me a special paper that said that I could leave the country without my visa being stamped, with my visa being, and that was supposed to let me fly home. So as I walk out of the prison, there's Miss Joy and her family.
Wow.
She picks me up. They bring me to their house, give me steak, green beans, Jack Daniels, a cold beer, and let me stay in their master bedroom of their house. Would not refuse to let me sleep on the couch.
There, right.
Had her kids calling me uncle.
Wow.
Gave me their bedroom because it had a private bathroom. And this is a woman who has never even met me.
Didn't know your name from Adam months before.
Ever.
Was in an art group.
One of the kindest human beings I've ever met. Gave me clothes, gave me a phone so that I could call my wife.
Yeah.
Gave me money for bribery money at the airport just in case.
Just in case. Yeah.
Jesus. Go to the airport. Got my ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Tanya and Beverly got their tickets. They're going to come. Well, then I was flying into Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
They just had to take a
Quick,
train.
yeah, just train over.
Yeah. And so they were on their way to Hong Kong to meet me because I was flying out of Thailand, going to Hong Kong, and standing at immigration, looking at my terminal, and they rearrest me, take me back to prison.
No.
They
In Hong Kong?
No, in Thailand.
In Thailand.
Yeah.
You're leaving the airport in
right
Thailand.
Right there in the airport with the embassy representative who actually finally
What?
came with me. Tanya found out they weren't at the trial and raised all kinds of hell, so they made sure to send a representative with me
Yeah.
to the airport. Representative at the airport, lawyer at the airport, the immigration lawyer, the immigration department's lawyer at the airport, all of them saying, this document says he's free to leave the country.
Yeah.
Who walks in? The DSI agents, the FBI of Thailand. Oh, no. We just have some more paperwork to fill out. We're just going to take you back to the immigration detention center, fill out the paperwork, then you're free to leave. 4 days later, after being in an immigration detention center for 4 days, I'm finally allowed to buy a plane ticket to leave. Then, and only then, was whenever the representatives, senators, and congressmen over here finally got involved.
Right.
Up until that point, my wife and parents and family and friends had contacted Ted Cruz, Dan Crenshaw, Marco Rubio from Florida, all my family in Florida.
Yeah.
Countless numbers of congressmen and senators, all of which did nothing until I was rearrested. After I was found innocent and then rearrested. Then somebody evidently made a phone call, and that's why 4 days later they let me get my plane ticket instead of months, because there were men in that IDC that had been in there for years in the immigration detention center, just waiting on plane tickets. And
yeah. What was it like being on that home stretch in the airport and then they're like,
and then getting rearrested?
Yeah.
I almost fell out. I almost couldn't stand. I was bent over. And there were people staring. And, and
you're like, this is not even funny anymore. Like, this is not even, like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, they put me in the car and they taken me back to immigration detention center. And one of the guys is sitting there with his MP5. They were carrying MP5s, automatic, machine gun. And he's sitting there next to me with his MP5 pointed at me. And he literally looked at me and said, we can take you out to the jungle and nobody will ever find you.
What?
Yeah.
This is an hour after you thought you were getting on a plane and leaving the country, and your horror story is over.
Yeah. And I told him, I said, well, you better kill me first, because I'm definitely taking at least one of you with me.
Yeah.
I said, you better shoot me now.
Wow. Okay. So you stay in detention, and you stay at the embassy detention center, I guess, for 4 days. During those 4 days, are you on pins and needles, or?
Oh, I thought they were.
You just thought you're going to go right back. Like
I thought they were either going to find a way to send me back for good, or they were going to take me out to the jungle and kill me.
Just kill you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you talking to your family at all at this point?
Oh, well, up until I literally called Tanya and told her they were rearresting me, and she lost it. And yeah, that was, whenever they got me back to the immigration detention center, I felt a little bit easier because I wasn't in the car with those bastards aiming their guns at me anymore. But yeah, that was crushing.
I couldn't imagine
standing there looking at the terminal, knowing I'm leaving.
That plane's leaving in 10 minutes, and I was supposed to be on it.
Yeah, all these papers that say, and I even had that money. I told him, I said, I'll pay. Is it a fine? I'll pay. Look, I've got all this cash. Yeah. And whenever I showed the immigration officer the cash, he kind of hesitated, and I was like, oh yeah, he's going to let me go. He's going to let me go. And then the phone rings, and he picks up the phone, hangs up the phone. He's like, no.
Okay.
But
how did it end well?
Oh,
how did it go after the fourth day? What changed? And then walk me through getting on an airplane and getting the hell out of Thailand.
Well, I did not breathe easy and I asked the flight attendant. I had stopped the flight attendant, told her, I said, you come over to me and you let me know whenever we are out of Thailand airspace, please.
Yeah.
And she was, I guess she could just tell because, what kind of fucking request
What kind
is
of
that?
answer? Yeah. What kind of question is that?
But she looked at me and she was like, okay, yeah, I'll let you know.
Mhm.
As soon as she came up and told me we just crossed out of Thailand airspace, I said, give me a drink.
Yeah.
Give me a drink.
Yeah.
Then it was a melting. And then, so I flew
How long
from,
was the flight?
I flew from Thailand, from Bangkok to Korea.
Okay.
They sent me into South Korea to Seoul.
Okay.
And that's where Tanya and Beverly were meeting me.
And this is the first time you got to see your family.
This was going to be the first time I got to see anybody in 14 months that I knew. Plane lands in Korea. I was on the same flight as an old man. His name was David. I'll think of it here in a minute.
No worries.
I have it written down.
Mm-hmm.
He was from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
He had actually come into the prison, gone through trial, gone to immigration, and was in immigration detention center for 2 months waiting to get deported because he had no money to buy a plane ticket.
Okay.
So he had to wait for the U.S. government to
give
purchase a
him-
plane ticket for him. And was in there whenever I walked in. And he stood up and he was he's just a sweet old man,
Yeah.
He was living there with his girlfriend. They had moved there because they were both retired, both living off of Social Security, and he needed to get some dental work done. And you can get really cheap dental work done in Thailand.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to him that happened to Chris. He was standing in line trying to buy a piece of chicken or a beer, and they accused him of stealing it and tried to extort money out of him, and he didn't have. So same thing happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually on the flight to Korea with me. And
What a small world.
he was one that I helped in dock whenever he got in. I
whenever
told
he
him,
was in the
don't go over
system.
here.
Yeah.
And so we
Wow.
landed into Korea together, and I told him, I said, David, you got to keep up, man. I ain't seen my family in 14 months. I'm probably going to be running through the airport.
Yeah.
He was like, I'll try as best as I can, and I've tried to locate him since we've been back. I can't get in touch with him.
Wow.
I guess he just doesn't have
Probably
social
not on
media or
social media or anything. Yeah.
But so I go running through because I had already told Tanya, meet me at the terminal where we're going to fly to Dallas.
Yeah.
I almost didn't get to fly out that day because I told the woman, you can't purchase your own ticket to fly out of the country. The immigration department has to purchase it for you at a highly marked up rate.
Yeah.
But so she was getting the ticket for me, and she said, where you live? I said, Houston, Texas. She's typing in the computer. She goes, okay, here's your flight. You go to Dallas. You leave tomorrow. I said, oh, no, I was supposed to be going to Houston. She said, okay, fine. You don't leave. I said, no, I'll go to Dallas. That'll work.
Yeah.
Send me to Dallas,
Dallas
please.
works.
Please send me to Dallas.
Holy cow.
But so we landed in Korea, and I believe it was, I hope I'm getting the correct senator. I believe it was Marco Rubio was finally one of the senators that stepped up. And we were all three in different seats on that flight going from Korea to Dallas. And he got the airline to give us all three in one row so that we could sit together.
Wow.
But
what was it like?
As I'm running through the airport, I'm going up the escalator to go to my my terminal, and I'm thinking Tanya and Beverly are down there already. And about halfway up the escalator, of course it's packed. I can't run.
Yeah, you can't run through the escalator.
Don't want to run people over.
Right.
Halfway up the escalator, I'm looking up, and I see Beverly and Tanya go hauling ass by up. And
I'm like, no.
I couldn't even yell. I was
Yeah.
And I just and it's trying to say excuse me. I get to the top of the stairs, and I'm running, and they're both running. And I get on one of those little Jetson walkways, the flat, and I'm running down that, and I'm still trying to get Tanya out. Beverly's way in front of Tanya. She's hauling ass.
Running, yeah.
And I finally get to the end of one, and she heard me. She heard me go, Tanya. And she turned around, and we went to our knees right there in the middle of the airport.
Wow.
Yeah. Beverly came up and hugged, and we were crying and yelling and screaming. Right in the middle of the airport, and everybody's looking at us, and
what
we
the
didn't
hell's
give
going
a
on. Yeah,
shit.
exactly. Fuck them, fuck them all. Like you're just, that's your moment. Holy cow, man.
And then flew back to Dallas and got a hotel room in Dallas because I needed, to
Just some
decompress.
decompression.
Yeah. Mom and Dad were like, "Are you flying in? We're gonna meet you at the airport.
I'll be there in a
Do you
couple
want a big
days."
party or no?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"No party. Let me come. I will come in tomorrow. Let me see my boy. Mark was here.
Yeah.
I said, let me see my boy. Let me visit with you guys, and then we'll have everybody come out." And whenever I saw Mark pulling into their driveway, I jumped out of the damn car. It was still running. Beverly was slamming on the brakes, going, "Wait, Dad, wait!"
Yeah.
I'm almost rolling out of the car.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what was it like getting on that plane to Dallas and flying? Like, when did you feel most okay? When were you like,
When we touched,
my world is back to normal?
when we touched down in Dallas.
Okay.
When we touched down in Dallas and landed, I was like, okay, well,
Now I'm home.
yeah. Now nothing huge unless I die in a car wreck on the way.
Yeah, exactly. Now there's no more major curveballs in hindsight. You're like, okay.
Well, no, I take that back. Whenever I got through immigration and Dallas.
Sure. No. Okay. So yeah, let's go through that. Like now, as a person that used to enjoy that experience, you're on your flight home. You've already missed one of your flights because you were redetained. What was it like? I mean, like when you get back in America, I mean, imagine once you get on U.S. soil, you're for the most part okay. But like, still, you're going through. You have to go through that process.
I was like all this shit runs through your head. Like, oh my God, are they going to arrest me and extradite me?
Yeah.
Or do they have a warrant for my arrest?
Now
here?
is America pissed at? Like,
since I'm innocent here, will that innocent verdict? If they are trying to charge me, all this is running through your head.
Yeah.
And I walk up through the immigration window and I'm talking to the agent, and Tanya's literally, they want you to stay behind the yellow line, and Tanya's literally standing right behind me, rubbing my back, going,
good.
"All right, it's good. You're all right." And I'm like, I'm trying to be Mr. Cool
in front
of her. No, it's good. And literally, I'm sitting there.
Yeah.
And the guy stamps my passport and goes, "Welcome home." And
just nothing. Just we walk up, hand it to him, no questions. Just
He looks at it, looks at my customs form, stamps it, says "Welcome home," gives it back to me, and I was just, oh
my God, run out of the airport and go eat some barbecue or something. Like.
We did. We went to a steakhouse that night there in Dallas, and great part of the story. Went to a steakhouse there that night in Dallas, and it was shutting down. We were so late getting in, from the hotel and everything. Got to the steakhouse, and the waitress comes up and she starts talking to us and brings us our food and asks us what we're doing in Dallas. And Beverly goes,
"Why don't you pull up a chair?"
Beverly pulls the quintessential Beverly laugh. You know that?
Yeah.
And so they both look at me and they're like, "Are you going to have a problem talking?" I'm like, "No, I'll talk about it." So I told her, I said, "I just got out of Thailand prison. I was in prison in Thailand for 14 months. And she's like,
accused for the last 14
pulls
months.
up a chair. What?
Yeah.
Sits down.
Yeah.
Tell her this whole story. Next thing I know, free shots are coming. So that was really good. She gave me a big hug whenever we left and told me welcome home.
Yeah.
Didn't know her, but it's little things like that like you see me laugh and tell funny stories. That's how I cope with the really bad shit.
Of course.
I mean, it's you find a way, you deal with it, you move on.
Yeah. What did you notice coming back to normality that you missed the most? Like what was there anything hard about the transition?
Who says I'm normal?
Yeah, no. Right. Yeah, no, I would never admit that. Would never say that. No, but was it hard? Was there any transitional difficulty? Like, was there anything about the structure that you created, the firewall that you created, locked up?
I still notice sometimes, just every now and then now, I mean, it's taken a while, but I'll get a little bit of social anxiety getting around big groups of people. Whereas, I mean, everybody who knew me, everybody who knew me knew I was social media. Anytime there's a party or a fun event,
you're the light of it all.
Yeah, here we go. Let's go. Now, before we get there, I'll get some social anxiety. I get some. Once we get there and I get around people I know, like this is no problem. I've known you guys my entire life almost. So
not a big deal.
But strangers, different. And then another thing that gets me is if 2 or 3 people are talking at the same time and having a conversation, and I'm trying to get the information from everybody, that kind of
Drives you crazy.
I'm just every now and then I don't snap. I don't
Yeah.
go off the deep end, but I'll be
Yeah.
like, all right, everybody, shut up.
Right.
It's
Right.
just one at a time.
Yeah.
I'm not-
Right. So, what would you say in hindsight?
Mhm.
All this happened to you. Now we're out of it. This has been. I mean, how long has it been now today since you've been free?
October 22nd was my 1-year anniversary of landing in Dallas.
Wow. So we're just a little over a year.
Mhm.
I'm sure you've taken a good considerable amount of time to be able to process it all and try to figure out how you feel about what you've gone through.
Oh yeah, and believe it or not, the coronavirus was actually a blessing in that.
Helpful for you.
Yeah, because whenever I got back to China, I was immediately trying to go right back into work and into
Yeah.
everything, and it shut everything down. And I
And that
literally
made you go, okay.
I literally just
You
had to
need to
sit there for
process.
5 months, and
Mhm. Where are you now? How are you doing now?
about 5 months ago, I picked up a new job.
Hmm.
Great job selling optics for rifles.
Yeah.
The redneck boy
How
loves.
perfect is that? That
It's
is literally ideal for you. Like it's
Yeah.
exactly what I imagined you doing whenever. Yeah, like that's awesome.
Yeah, I get to sell optics for rifles. I mean, come on,
Uh-huh.
hunting or fishing, I'm there.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you feel after you've had some time to think about everything? In hindsight, what's your takeaway from it all? Did you learn a lesson from this? Do you like what is there any did you reflect it all in a way where would you have done anything differently? Do you regret anything? Are you thankful for the journey? I don't know. Like,
I'm not thankful for having been there. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I definitely learned that I'm a lot stronger person than I thought I was, and I was pretty
You thought you were pretty
macho.
hard already.
Yeah. I thought I was a pretty hardcore individual anyway, but
Mhm.
just before I thought that I was independent
Mhm.
and could take care of myself.
Mhm.
Now I know.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I know absolutely. No matter how bad it gets, no
Mm-hmm.
matter how alone you are,
You'll figure it out.
yeah, you are strong enough to
Yeah.
take care of yourself.
There's something that even though you would never wish that journey upon anyone, there's something empowering of
Mhm.
that though, I can imagine.
Mhm.
Now that you've trucked through the shit, you're
Yeah,
like,
it's-
okay.
and it might be a bad thing considering how my personality was before, but self-confidence is even
Even
higher.
higher now. Yeah. Right. Well, that's okay.
Well, I mean, whenever you're as good looking as us
That's
two,
tough, right?
it's-
Exactly.
you-
Exactly.
You've already
No,
got
I think it's
a
safe to
lot of
say I
self-confidence
could not
anyway.
survive in that environment. This
No,
this
you're
boy
too
would get
pretty.
eaten exactly.
You're too
I get
pretty.
eaten whole. I would get eaten whole. Yeah. Okay. Well, man, I cannot thank you enough for sitting down and talking with me. I learned
Yeah,
so
brother.
much about what you went through.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you being willing to share it with me, but also with me throwing on these bright lights and having
Yeah.
Reese here to help and some of my family here to help set things up. It was just, we were here for Thanksgiving. We had all the equipment and it was a Hail Mary text last night
Yeah.
about like where we didn't even know if you were in the country.
Yeah.
We didn't know where you were. And I just knew that we were sitting having Thanksgiving lunch. And I was like, man, I would want nothing more than to be able to sit down with you for an hour or so and just understand what it was
Yeah.
like. And
We could sit down longer if you got beer.
shit, I'll take it. Well, yeah, I'll take you up on that soon for sure. But I just thank you so much again and being so open and just being yourself.
Yeah.
It's amazing for me to see someone that, as I witness from afar, and you interpret the things, the rumors that you hear and what you're going through, and you just, how you can empathize how terrible it's got to be,
Yeah.
but of course you don't ever know. And then now hearing your stories and hearing how it really was so freaking bad.
Yeah.
And you're in the worst conditions and you're dealing with the worst type of people and you're completely alone and you have no understanding of where your next day is going to end up. talking to you today, you have not changed a bit. You are still happy, you're still positive, and you're still going about life in the way that I remembered you always going through it as. And for that, I'm incredibly thankful for it. And I think that's more of a testament of how strong you are. It's not that you can go beat the shit out of someone if you need to, or you can be at the lowest moment of your life and still find a way to mentally get through it. It's that you handled all those situations for the most part in the most positive way you could. I don't want to keep you here any later than we already have. I really appreciate the time, and this was incredibly enlightening. And we need to have a beer. We got to go have a beer sometime now. Now that I know that you're here, I know that you're home.
Absolutely,
dude.
Tomorrow's my birthday.
That's right.
Come out and have a beer with me.
God, happy freaking birthday. Yeah. Dude, this was good.